Kelly Vaughn, and this is Inside Indy. And on this show, we're about helping those in our community. And we have someone in the studio who can help us do that. And she is Jayne Slaton, and you are the executive director of the Merciful Help Center. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You are located on the north of Indianapolis, right?
Yes, north of Indianapolis, just on 146th Street, right in between Carmel and Westfield.
Okay, so tell folks what the Merciful Help Center is.
The Merciful Help Center is a wraparound service. We're on the property of Our Lady of Mount Carmel in a building called the Matthew 25 building.
Okay.
And in it is the Merciful Help Center, which is one entity, and the Trinity Free Clinic on the other side.
Okay.
And so the Merciful Help Center is a wraparound service for families that need all sorts of help, not just food, but maybe housing, furniture for their house, housewares, everything from, all the way down to your underwear. We take care of it all.
Wow. Okay. So who are the needy? And I think it's probably evolved over the years. I can remember even 10 years ago with the economic, tsunami, I call it. It was incredible. People who, had degrees and who were doing lavishly well, all of a sudden were, showing up at your door and other doors to say, I need help. But today, we've kind of had an economic upturn. Who are they?
Yeah. So you're right. The Great Recession was crazy for us in 2008, and we ran lots of job search, kind of things like that were maybe not as needed and are not as needed now. But you still have people suffering from the from that recession, and you still have people that lost their whole 401k and all sorts of things, that their retirement has changed now, and they're more on the fixed income where they would have had a draw from a 401k, and so that has a lasting impression and a lasting difficulties. So we still see some of that, we still hear some of that from the folks, but we have a lot of people that are new immigrants to the country, people that are on religious asylum, political asylum, or people that are, maybe not even documented, undocumented, and have a really, really hard time getting help just about anywhere. Pretty much churches and small organizations are where they have to go, because you can't get help through the government agency if you don't have a social security number and things like that. Through WIC you can, but it gets so technical. But so a lot of domestic violence situations.
Really?
So people that they have to leave their home and they start over. It might not even be domestic violence. It could just be ending in divorce. That's why it's so good that we offer so many services, because if a person comes in and they're kicked out of their home, they don't have a place to live, we can find them an affordable apartment. We can help them with the financial aid of, maybe some of that cost. We can help them to furnish the apartment to make sure their kids have a bed to sleep on when they're there. Then they go to the housewares department and get sheets for the bed, a pillow to sleep on, dishes, and then you go on and we can give them socks and underwear. We give them clothing vouchers from Goodwill, or clothing, depending on the sizes, coats, boots, shoes, tools for schools, school supplies for back to school, or fire victims need it like right away. So we keep that on hand all the time. And then food to stock your refrigerator and get you started again. So we can really help a person get started or get restarted. That's not a problem. When families break down for all sorts of reasons, but you can have two families, because homelessness has so many different degrees, so many levels. So you can be homeless but living in somebody else's home, and those relationships break down pretty fast.
Wow.
And so we can help them restart.
Okay, and that's interesting to define homelessness. So again, is it somebody where it's a family breakdown, maybe even a brother or sister, or you've got a husband and wife divorce situation, or even a roommate, or that kind of thing. Wow. And those are things that people don't think about. And we typically think of somebody who's in a shelter, but sometimes you can end up being on the street just unexpectedly.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. You can have a person that's having a failure to springboard off their parents' help. Say they graduate college and they just have a really mental relapse. It could even be a depression. There could be a mental breakdown or a breakdown in the family. And when there is, where does that 20-year-old go? How do they get started? You know, do they go to the shelter, or if they're able to work and they can earn a paycheck and they can make enough to pay their bills, it's better to help them get started and to go that direction, because it's harder to break out of the homelessness pattern. So better to help them get started in living in a normal life, being responsible for their bills, teaching them budgeting. We do that too.
Oh
and
boy, you teach budgeting.
We teach budgeting, and sometimes we sit down and just do a family budget. But what we really love to do is send them to Dave Ramsey, which we have on property, and we give them the $100 Dave Ramsey scholarship, and they go and they really learn how to budget, how to build wealth. You know, it sounds stupid to say, okay, we're dealing with the poor and we're teaching them to build wealth. Well, anybody can build wealth. You know, they just need to learn to put the $1,000 aside, do all the things that Dave Ramsey talks about. Anybody can do that. So we put at least 3 or 4 families through every time we have a session. So 2 or 3 sessions a year. And you know, that's expensive, but it's worth it. It's an investment into them. Everything we do is an investment into humanity.
Yeah, because I would think, you know, some of us would have a hard time even relating to what you're saying, but oftentimes it's because maybe things have gone consistently well over a period of time, or you have that family support, or that family is like, well, as a family, we must succeed. We're pushing you forward, that kind of thing. Or maybe even your network of friends that kind of support you. But sometimes things just don't go the way you plan that they go, right?
Oh, gosh, yes. And, well, addiction can take hold. We have a lot of addiction. Hamilton County is ridden with addiction problems. So when somebody's struggling with addiction and they haven't faced the truth yet, or they haven't hit rock bottom, and the family's tried to help, but they realize they're enabling rather than actually helping, you have to let the person fall in order to succeed. So where do they go when they fall? Well, a stranger is somebody probably you're going to listen to even more than your family sometimes at that point. So Kelly, you and I have talked before about telling the truth to people and giving people solid truths, and what a gift that is, because sometimes your best friend can't say something to them. They're afraid they're going to hurt your feelings or something like that. And it's not that we don't care about their feelings. We do. We just know that the truth is the biggest gift that we can give somebody to help them get restarted. So maybe what our gift is that day is not just food, but is setting them up with somebody to take them to their first AA meeting or the first Al-Anon meeting, or giving them a set of CDs, Detaching with Love, which helps people continue to love the person that has the addiction, but detaching from the difficulty. You know, there's all sorts of things that you can do to help people.
So take us through what you might say to someone who has an addiction issue and you're trying to tell them the truth. What do you say?
I usually ask them if they feel that their addiction is keeping them from living a normal life. Do you feel like your addiction is keeping you from living a normal life? Or do you feel like it was the cause of you losing your job? Has it made you lose employment? There's really a whole list, and it's actually online on AA. You can ask yourself the question, am I an addict, is a little flyer that they give out. Those questions that we ask are actually off of that flyer. And so when you ask them those questions and they give you the answers, if they aren't lying to themselves, which you can clearly tell if they are, if they aren't lying to themselves and you and telling you the truth, they're ready to seek help. But if they still haven't owned any of their difficulties and they're not telling you the truth, they're not telling themselves the truth either, they're not ready.
How about owning it and I just don't want to change? I suspect you hear that.
Yeah. Well, I have heard that. But I love it. I love it. I love my red glasses of wine. I love my, crack or whatever. I mean, we went into the jail not too long ago, in the Hamilton County Jail, and met with women that were going to get out within a month's time to try and give them resources of things that they could gain, places that they could go to find housing, things like that. And obviously we're just one resource in the county, so we were doing that. And when the women were talking, you could tell who said They don't ever want to go back to that again. They don't want to go live in the same area. They want to get away from those people because they know they have to break the pattern. And who plans to go right back into the same place, into the same apartment with the same friends? So one's ready and one's not.
Yeah, but I think that's key too, that they have to be ready, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, they have to be ready. You can't do anything. It's between them and God in the first place. But you can hope that you're that one person occasionally that is there when somebody is ready, and you can guide them in the right direction. But for everybody else, you just be that drop in the pond of that one thing that was said that maybe they'll think about
later.
Later, that will lead them, and whatever.
And as far as the addiction issue, what are you seeing there? And I've been seeing on the news about the opiates, but is what you're seeing lining up with the news stories as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, we've had problems with opioids for a long, long time. Heroin has gotten to be more affordable, and teenagers are getting a hold of it. And so, I mean, that happened quite a long time ago. The news probably lagged behind. I mean, does anybody want to admit that that's in their community? Probably not, but it is.
How are you finding that they're getting there? Is it the stories we're hearing now that I was on a medication, or are people still getting into it because they want to get high? What do you see?
That's a good question, because every single case is so different. I mean, I see there's some people that had colds, it made them feel good, and they're on cold medication, and they stay on cold medication. So there is that where somebody pulled a muscle in their back and they got addicted to it. But I mean, usually you'll have an addictive nature or genetic history of addiction in your family and things like that. A lot of us can have that in our medicine cabinet. It doesn't call our name at all.
Isn't that weird how that happens? Like, why do they like that?
But don't put food in front of me, because that would be my problem.
Sugar, they're saying that it's right up there with
absolutely
with cocaine. In fact, recently someone told me about a study with I think it was with rats, and the rats migrated toward the sugar more so than the cocaine, though they had been given both.
Wow, that says a lot.
And that's another show. We'll have to talk about.
That's another show.
Sugar addiction.
I'm glad you said something, because one of the focuses that we have at our Choice Food Pantry, which is just one of the things, but I call it the focal point, because it's really what brings people in and helps us to get to the other issues, the other root issues of the difficulty that they're having. So they come in, we actually strive to provide lots and lots of fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. Okay. So we buy about $1,500 worth of fresh produce a week.
Wow.
To make sure that it's super fresh. Plus, we rescue from a whole lot of places, Whole Foods and Earth Fare and Aldi's and all sorts of places.
We're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we're going to talk more about that fresh fruit and how you help so many people in our community when we come back.
If you or a parent or a grandparent has a house that they are looking to sell, please consider selling it to Habitat for Missions. We'll provide a cash offer, no responsibility to fix the place up before it can be sold. Leave all of that to us and put our volunteers to work there, fix it up, renovate it, restore it, and sell it with the idea of donating 90% of the profit to Christian Mission.
I sold my house to Habitat for Missions.
We sold our house to Habitat for Missions.
Just remember, 90% of the house sale profit goes to Christian ministries. Sell your house to Habitat for Missions and help us change our world.
They say you don't have to be so strong, but this is my mother, my purpose. Strength is not optional. See, I lift her now like she raised me then, so I know my strength is super, but I'm still human.
Oh, look who's here.
And we're back here on Inside Indy with Jayne Slaton, who is the Executive Director of the Merciful Help Center here in, am I saying Noblesville? Is that where you're looking?
No, we're in Carmel.
Carmel,
Carmel's
okay.
our address, but we're literally on the border between Carmel and Westfield.
Okay. You provide so many services. I am just blown away. And I know you do things for kids in school as well, right?
Yes.
Tools for schools?
Tools for School.
Okay, tell us about that.
Tools for School. Oh, hearts are changed at Tools for School. It's so beautiful. But families apply, and they can be in Hamilton County, and zip codes 46240 and 62260 in the northern part of Marion County. And they apply, and all they have to do is put their kids on this list and do a little family budget on the form. And we invite them to come. We give them an appointment. We don't believe in people standing in lines. We think that that's horrid when the news comes and shows this big long line of people in need. To me, that's so wrong. I think that just means you didn't do your job, because you could schedule appointments for those people and you could respect their time. And the volunteers' time inside, because they feel so hurried and rushed. So we do a new book bag per child, and all the way from pre-K through college. So if mom or dad's in college, we do them as well.
Wow.
And so, and then all the school supplies they need, paper products, you know how some of them need paper products and hand sanitizers and all that kind of stuff. And then they go on, a librarian does book in hand. They get to choose a new book. And our goal there is the literacy piece of getting a kid reading right before they go back to school again, getting them refreshed. We offer a prayer room for spiritual for refreshment. We have a quiet room for kids with autism or whatever their special needs might be, where everything's brought to them rather than them walking through. Then we fit them with a pair of shoes, and we wash, rinse the kids' feet just like Jesus did, put a new pair of socks on, and then they get to choose. Everywhere they go, they get to choose between one or two things. Okay. So we want to increase their self-esteem. So we want them to have choices just like all the rest of the kids do. Wow. And then they go and get some new socks and new underwear, because who doesn't want a little bit of that? Right. And then they go to Hamilton County Kids Coats. They come into to the Tools for School program and offer lightweight jackets for the fall and spring, because they do winter separate from that. And then the Trinity Free Clinic gives them a fluoride treatment, and then we provide fresh fruits and vegetables on the way out. And that's what they get. It's really beautiful. Oh my gosh, to see their happiness at the end, the parents' relief, the children's joy is, I'm so lucky to have this job.
I was wondering, like, the things that you see, and that it must be pretty emotional. I mean, it's very gratifying, and it gives you a tremendous amount of satisfaction. But I would think too, it can be very overwhelming sometimes.
I think my joy comes from that the glory goes to God, and that God is just being appreciated, thanked all day long. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You can hear the people saying it. Oh my gosh, thank you, Jesus. It's not necessarily the person in front of you. That's a good person too. But we really are the hands and feet of Christ, and that's the beauty.
Can I ask you then, because you're dealing firsthand with people who have needs, and you're meeting people's needs, and there's a lot in the news about the whole immigration issue. Do you mind me asking you how you perceive that whole debate? And because you're dealing with immigrants and people who have needs, and this whole wall issue and all, what are your feelings on that?
It's so interesting that you asked that. I was watching the Olympics the other day, and North Korean skaters came on, and the man said it so eloquently. I look at them as skaters and artists and the beauty of it all. I'll leave that political part to somebody else. And that too is how definitely I as a person feel, but I think everybody there. These are people in front of us. These are people that need help. How you got in front of me is not really necessarily what I need to know. I need to help you to keep from crying. I need to help you with your depression. I need to get you to the right group for that. I need to look at you as a whole person, right down into your soul, and see what you need to survive. We can tackle those issues next. I honestly, I don't know how I feel sometimes. What I know is that when somebody's in front of me, it's my job to love them to my best of my capabilities, to not see gender, color, anything, but to love a person and find out what they need in order to survive, to be happy, maybe to become a tax-paying citizen in the future. I mean, that's important. It really is. How to be honest, whatever they can do to become a citizen. If your visas run out and you're still in the country, what are you hiding from? Who do you need to tell the truth to? I don't know, when DACA was doing well and there wasn't all this controversy about what's going to happen with DACA, we would tell people to go and file for that because you want to be known. And what our hopes were was that you would be walking towards citizenship. So I have a family right now, very good family, that the oldest boy is at IUPUI going to school, and he's trying to get into a radiology program. We just did a novena for him. He hasn't been able to get in, but he keeps making the top cuts and going in. He's on DACA. They don't know what's going to happen to him when this runs out. But there's the mom and dad here. They're an excellent family, most amazing. Mom comes and interprets for Spanish all the time and helps all the families that don't have furniture that speak Spanish to know what to do to gain the furniture from us. And they have a little girl that's just 3 and another little girl that's in 8th grade. They're citizens. So what happens then? He has to leave. If he has to leave and then they all stay.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to see a family split up. It's our goal to keep families together or to heal families that have to learn how to be a single parent family or whatever, but to keep them together too. So,
yeah. So
I mean, how am I supposed to feel?
Right. Yeah.
I love them. I want them to stay together.
Right. I can totally relate. And I understand too that people feel that something has to be done. I think it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it's about. So,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I just wonder, because I know you see these things firsthand. You mentioned earlier about domestic violence. And so what are you seeing and how do you all help? And in fact, the president came out and spoke against it. And I think in light of, there was somebody who's a part of his administration who's abused his wife, or there were accusations, and he was coming out to reiterate the point that he was against domestic violence. So with that being in the news, and obviously the movement of Time's Up movement, and
It's funny how it floats everybody to the surface that's struggling too.
Yeah.
If you see somebody like the President of the United States say it's wrong, and maybe it gives somebody a little more courage to step forward and maybe to walk into Prevail office.
Good point. And we just have about a couple of minutes left, but I really want to hear what your response is on this and what you're seeing currently through your agency.
Well, what we're seeing is the same as we've always seen. We haven't seen any huge increase, but women come in, say they're struggling, that they're being beaten, or that they have experienced that they're being yelled at constantly. I don't think they always recognize it when it's not physical abuse and it's emotional abuse, but that's domestic violence as well. And we send them to Prevail, but we help them to get restarted. That's what we have to do. Our goal is to help them get restarted. Or perhaps they get counseling and they want to stay in their situation. Maybe the person is counselable. Maybe they actually can change. But we find that domestic violence victims go back 8, 10 times over and over and over again. And we continue to love them when they come in and encourage them to have a brighter future.
How can people find out more about the Merciful Help Center, and how can they support you? Because you have all this stuff, and I'm thinking, where does it come from? But tell people how they can help.
Well, they can donate to us. They can go to our website, www.mercifulhelpcenter.org, and they can check us out there, we're about to launch a new website, so the old one doesn't look as good. Or you can write a check and send it to us at 1045 West 146th Street, Suite A.
Okay, do you accept any other donations of, say somebody has a ton of lotions or things like that?
We'll even bottle up those little hotel pieces into bags and give them, we give everything out. So we really do focus on the things that food stamp don't cover, like shampoo and toothpaste and laundry soap. They need it so bad. Diapers, toilet paper, but any kind of food, any kind of paper product, we'll take anything. And then we take baby clothes 0 to 24 months and all the baby accoutrement. all
Okay.
the furniture and all that kind of stuff. We take furniture.
Okay.
Large appliances, we take anything but TVs, but nothing decorative. Everything we take is basic need.
Okay.
And if it's not basic need, we give it to Goodwill. They give us vouchers. We give those back out to families to go buy clothes.
Okay, well, we appreciate all that you do, and we appreciate you coming here and joining us on Inside Indy. Jayne Slaton, Executive Director of the Merciful Help Center. Thanks so much for joining us
Thank you, Kelly. It's a pleasure to be with you.
on Inside Indy, and thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, Janet. It's nice seeing you again. You look good, girl. Just let me know what I can do to help.
Well, to help me, she'd have to help every day. Every hour, every ouch, every time my wife calls for help. I mean, maybe she could help me make her lunch. But the crust, all the crust has to be cut off the corners. She could help me run to the doctor for the 5th time this week. Help me with the specialist and the second opinions and the painful paperwork about paperwork. Help me deal with how hard it is seeing my wife's name on so much paperwork. But this is on me. I'm the only one who can do this, like this, for her. Besides,
Take care.
we will. Janet doesn't like her cooking anyway.
Find support for your strength. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.